This is an exclusive Brisbane Lions Fancast interview with Gary O'Donnell. We had him on the normal Fancast a bit earlier in the week to chat about a mid-season review, and it turned into what was an exceptional long interview, Mike.
Yeah, it went a bit longer than our normal few minutes, didn't it?
Just a little bit. So we thought, let's upload the whole thing. And here it is now. It is the full 25-ish minutes of our chat mid-season review with Senior Assistant Gary O'Donnell.
Go and get a coffee and settle in for a great chat.
Joining us on the Fancast now for a bit of a mid-season review is Senior Assistant Gary O'Donnell, who has a heavy emphasis on development, and we're going to speak to him about that. Before we get into any of that, though, Gary, welcome to the show. What's the feel within the club on the bye week?
It's a good chance, Dom, to just assess how we've been going, to have a good week on the training track, and then to have our list have a well-earned 3 or 4 days off to refresh, recharge, and get into, the second half of our season.
What have you made of the first half of the year, Gary? You're probably just a fraction down on what you may have expected. Look, what are your feelings after 10 weeks?
Yeah, I would have thought that'd be the case, Michael. We... after such a promising NAB Cup, where we were, even though it was only, as they say, NAB Cup, we were at a high standard of footy, and we're cracking in, and just our effort and our pressure on the opposition was at a high level. And probably the first game of the year, round one against the Bulldogs, it really derailed us. We'd been so good, we had almost the rug pulled out from under us, and footy bites you pretty quickly if you don't respect the opposition. And maybe as a group we went into that round one thinking, we've been going okay, we should be all right this week. But you get what you deserve in this game, and history says we had a really bad loss, and it took a while for players to recover from that, I reckon. I think if we had won round one, you might have snatched round two against Adelaide, Gold Coast. All of a sudden, your season's a hell of a lot different. So, we've got to, assess why that happened, I suppose, and it's a chance over the break to do that. But also just to assess how we're going to get better at starting games. That's been our key, weakness, I suppose. And the games that we have started, the Essendon game, we started, really at a high standard, and it carried through the game. Whereas, some of the games, the Kangaroo game or the Bulldogs game, Carlton, Collingwood lately, and we've been slow starters, and it means you're chasing your tail. So we've got to rectify that, and if we do, I see us having a better second half to the year.
The season, as you said, didn't start well. It did seem to probably pick up from, I think, the second quarter of the Sydney game. The boys were competitive for the rest of that match, and then did pretty well against West Coast. And obviously, as you know, as the year went on, very good performance against Essendon, and then competitive against Carlton as well. But it seemed to drop off a little bit on Friday night. Do you put that down purely to the injuries, or were there a few other factors that may have contributed to that performance?
I suppose there's a few factors there, Dom. I forgot about the Sydney game. That's another one where we didn't start well, and probably competitive for the rest of the game. But you just can't do that in the modern day, especially against the better sides. The Collingwood game, okay, we've probably got 6 of our best players out at the moment, but we still, our effort in the early part of the game against Collingwood just wasn't at the standard that allows you to play good footy. And Collingwood, conversely, Collingwood were very good. Even had we started better, we still would have been up against it. But I thought we would have been in the game a hell of a lot more if we had been at a higher standard of effort and just alertness, I reckon. So it's something that, and we've got 3 tough games after the bye. We've got Freo, Geelong, and Hawthorn. We cannot possibly expect to have improved performance unless we get that area of our game right.
Gary, you touched on the starts there, and from the outside as a fan or in my role as a media, it's hard to accept and understand sometimes how players can repeatedly make those mistakes. I mean, the first quarters were an issue from early in the season. From the players' perspective, is it simply an attitude thing, or is there a little bit more to it than that?
Well, look, if we've got to find the answer. It's probably a number of things. Maybe we've just got to try and tweak things the way we perhaps our last training session the day before, perhaps, or is it what we do? Do we tweak the lead up, the 2-hour lead up into the game, in certain ways that allows us to be, ready to compete right at the start? It's something that we just have to keep looking at, and keep refining. So I can't put my finger on any one particular thing that is going to help that. It'll be, there's a number of factors there.
An issue with the side this year have been our forward entries. The long bomb in Hope seems to have returned. Is it a focus to tell the players and educate them to lower their eyes going forward and really look to spot up the leading targets rather than just bombing it long to a pack?
Yeah, it's sort of a mix there. You can't probably do one type of forward entry all the time because the defence react to it. You've got to actually probably enter your forward 50 depending on how the opposition are defending you, whether they are sagging off a little bit. Yeah, can you be good enough to hit that little connecting kick who can then wheel off and get it deeper quicker to a one-on-one? Or, they're all, being pretty good in the opposition team as far as their close checkingness. Can you actually, sometimes you do have to bomb it, but you have to have mechanisms in place that perhaps don't allow them to mark it, intercept and bring it out easily. So it's sort of a mix. I think when we've played better, we've been able to hit that short and identify that shorter kick at about 50 to 70 metres, so that then we do have options. We can either go in long or find another short that, because we've disrupted the opposition's defence, and there's no one way to skin the cat, but you've got to be able to to read how the defence is being set up against you.
Gary, this probably gives us a good chance to switch onto and talk about a couple of players. As Dom mentioned at the intro there, you're got a heavy focus on development, and we were talking about the forward line there, and I know there's a handful of players that are sort of struggling to cement their spot, and one of those is one of those forwards particularly is Aaron Cornelius. Can you tell us what he needs to do to, I guess, firstly win a spot in the team, and then how he can cement his spot? Because he's a player that's probably frustrated fans, coaches, and a lot of people over his 4 or 5 years at the club.
Yeah, he's been able to win a spot, Michael, but being able to hold it. So he has some good form in patches in games. And it's more so when he actually comes at the footy and presents at the footy rather than perhaps wanting the long ball more often. And just and like our entire team, we can our reactions to defence can be a little bit better, and he's working on that area of his game as well. He's certainly got good hands, so when he does get in front, he is the ball's hard to dislodge out of his hands because they are strong and they sit in really comfortably into his mitts. So that is a strength of his game. But yeah, look, he's working away, trying to forge a league career. We're trying to work out what our best 6 is up there, and we'll continue to do that as the year progresses. Pat
Karnezis is another one who's a fan favourite. What are you hoping to see from him, and where do you think he's at? And also, with that question, do you see him going forward more primarily as a forward or a midfielder?
Yeah, similar sort of player, Paddy. He's got some deficiencies to work on, but he reads the ball very well. When he's forward of the ball, he's able to get off an opponent and slip into holes. Perhaps he's got to work at the contested situation when the ball's a bit higher and improve in that area, and also his reaction to defence as well. But moving forward, he came to the footy club as a forward. He's played a little bit on the wing early in the season and inside as well, and because he has got some good hands and can put his head over, and he's quite strong over the ball. But probably moving forward in league footy, there's more chance of him playing forward, I suppose. But yeah, he's got to just continue to improve his game over time as well.
Gary, while we're on this theme of players, obviously we're sort of asking you about the fringe players and what they need to do. And another guy that falls into that category who's had some injury problems recently is Jared Pollock. And we know that it's in his 3rd season and he was highly drafted, and he's been in and out his first couple of seasons. What are the areas of Jared's game that he has to work on, and what would sort of allow him to, I guess, get a more secure spot in the team when he gets back from injury?
Yeah, well, he firstly needs a body that's more durable. He keeps breaking down, or he's had various things. But look, he's got a great weapon. His left foot is something that can really penetrate opposition defence by either being able to hit the pass that's short, or to really drive the ball long. And it's a good weapon for him. Just, again, it's probably his reaction to defence. It's probably, his attack on the ball at times is inconsistent, but certainly he's only a young fellow, and probably because he's had so much interruption, you just don't get continuity. Your best development for all players is actually out on the field, match day. That's where you get your development, and he just hasn't had that run and jump at it yet on a consistent basis.
Potentially one of the best stories at the club has been Callum Bartlett, and recently his return from quite a few serious injury setbacks, and really he's found the best form throughout his whole time at the club in the NEAFL this season. How much more work do you think he needs to do to earn perhaps the mid-season rookie elevation and get a crack at a senior game?
Yeah, he's just, Cal's one, he cracks in hard. He's a real hard nut, and loves a contest, loves body work, all that. He, as you said, his injuries, the cheekbone he had earlier in the year where he missed, 4 or 5 weeks, but the 2 knee reconstructions he's had have not helped him. And just getting his running gait back after the second one was, it took him a hell of a long time to get that going. So the biggest thing for Cal is just his sustainability. And not having played for the best part of 2 years, I know he played sort of some consistent footy in the second half of last year, but just his match conditioning still isn't quite at the AFL level. So he can do it at NEAFL level, but still that match hardness of that sustainability for a whole 4 quarters still needs to be worked on for Cal, I would have thought.
Gary, from a selection point of view, can you tell us about how patient the club is prepared to be and how patient they have to be with a lot of these players? I mean, we're touching on here Pollock, Karnezis. I mean, Bartlett has Dom through up there, who obviously isn't eligible to play seniors yet, but Cornelius, all these guys are sort of in the formative stages of their career in the big picture, but the fans and everyone wants them to develop quickly and be in the team long term. And like, how much patience do you want to have, and how much patience do you have to have, I suppose, in the big picture?
Yeah, it's an interesting question, Michael. You could add another 6 or 8 names to that. Types like Doherty, Yo, Mays, Paparone. There's a young fellow in the seconds at the moment, Close, that looks like he's half a chance as well. I've probably missed a few as well. But look, you have to be patient. But we haven't got a lot of time either. But I think just from an outside point of view, people need to see that players are improving and the team is moving forward. So. And there's a consistent level of effort all the time that perhaps, at the couple of games this year, we haven't had that through a 4-quarter game. So, it's something that, people lose patience in you and in the system if that's not happening. So we can probably tidy that up. We think we're moving in the right direction, haven't had the results because of that inconsistency at times. So, there's a long way to go in this season yet. We get a few blokes back, and just game by game, each one of those guys you mentioned that is on the fringe or in the senior side at the moment, if they get the improvement, the team comes on a little bit, and we can sell a little bit of hope to our supporters that we're not too far away.
One of the more interesting quotes that I've read about the playing list at the moment was to do with Ryan Harwood, and it was actually in an interview Mike did with Vossi at the end of last season, where Vossi mentioned that he doesn't see Ryan Harwood ever playing as a midfielder. Obviously, he came back into the side, Ryan Harwood, on Friday night and had a few runs in the midfield at times and looked pretty good in there. Is that view still one that Vossi and the rest of the coaching staff hold, or are you a bit more open-minded about what Ryan could do?
Ryan, it was really good on the weekend. Ryan had, he's bet, didn't world beat, but he had one of his better games that he's had for a while when he's had the chance in AFL footy, and it was really pleasing to see because he's worked really hard in the reserves games. He's had some really good form, and early in the year he came into the side and had a tough assignment with Lindsay Thomas, and we might have been able to go for him again, but we didn't. But he's gone back and he's worked just as hard, and it was really pleasing to see his form on the weekend as it was. So, for him to play midfield, he's got a big jump to go because we're not just comparing just your run-of-the-mill midfields. We want our midfield to be competing with the top four side. So if we class it like that and we want our players to be at that level, they've got a lot of work to do. So, but he will still have ambitions, and there's still a chance as he moves through, gets fitter, gets more, robust and has more sustainability over the course of a game. Yeah, there's every chance that he could do that. But at the moment, he's getting some valuable development in a defensive type role where he can do the defence first and then be able to really give us some good attacking run off half back.
There's been quite a few kids who've come on very well this year, and we've gone through a few who have been on the fringe as well. I'm just wondering if there's one player in particular who has surprised you with their rate of development this season.
Oh, well, look, I've liked Doherty with what he'll be able to give us. So he hasn't got much of a sniff yet. He's sort of been in and out, but I think he's one that gives us, and he's got a lot of rough edges. He's got his kicking's still got to be added to, but he's not a bad kick. He just gives us a little bit of run excitement, some just a little bit of energy in the games and the time as he has played. So. Yeah, I don't mind him. Sam Mays, I think he was our highest pick in the draft last year, and he looks the goods. He kicks the ball very well. The blokes that can kick the ball accurately, but actually also sit the ball up slightly, so it's an easy, in front mark for the forward that's coming at you. The good kicks. So, I've been impressed with Sam Mays. Paparone runs and runs and runs. So the game moving forward has got, as they talk of 2 interchange and 2 subs, all that sort of stuff, or limiting interchanges, he'll be invaluable because he's running as hard as he does in the first quarter, in the last quarter. So there's 3 to name a few. As far as the blokes that have been in the side for a while, Elliot Yeo is moving through nicely. I would have thought. He will get better the more he plays. He's got some freakish agility and an ability to get out of trouble. So he's in the defence at the moment, but he may well be someone that plays, further up the ground later on once he does his little apprenticeship in defence. So there's 3 or 4 names there that have we've probably put a tick against their name for the way they've gone about things.
Would Justin Clark be in that list too? He's one who's really impressed me.
No, actually, good. Well done, boys. Well done. He has really, he's raw as hell when he came as a rookie to us last year, but it was a really good pick from country South Australia. Really smart kid off the field. A lot of development to do, but just raw-boned and just has a real crack. And, geez, we've been impressed with the way he's gone about things. And he's got so much more work to do, but he's a real chance because he's just a real competitor. And, he's been in the 3 or 4, maybe 5 games now that he's played, or he might have missed one through suspension. He has been one that's actually jumped out of the ground at us.
Just one more before we let you go, Gary. With your work with the young kids in development, it's something that probably you have had to deal with a bit, the go-home factor and homesickness and perhaps a lack of settling in. There's obviously always rumours about some clubs' young players and whether or not they want to go home. I'm just wondering how serious an issue it is and what kind of things you do to help players who haven't settled in as well as you'd have liked really find their place within the club. Yeah,
it takes a while for, especially a young person, to pack up and move sometimes to the other side of Australia, from Western Australia to come to Brisbane. And, the Brisbane Footy Club, or just an AFL Footy Club almost becomes your family, your parents virtually. If you get in the side early, and that helps temper the homesickness that you do have, but we all go through it, and it's something we have to combat. And we've been up here now, the Brisbane Footy Club, for a while, but we're still in a pioneer frontier part of AFL footy, still trying to get our little niche here, and to attract and then to keep players is a never-ending challenge. So we've got a development and welfare department manager, Manny Lynch, who does a really good job, and he's got an assistant, Alicia Whitlock, that has just come on this year, that gives support to Manny in his big role of being able to make sure guys are comfortable, to make sure that the go home factor is limited, and to make sure that they're in the best possible off-field frame of mind to be able to then put their best foot forward for their footy development and give themselves a chance to be the best they can be. So, look, it's a never-ending challenge. If we could play all 46 of them in the first, that'd be great, because then they'd all be happy and beauty. I'm going well, I'm playing league footy, I'm getting paid well, all that. But if you've got to just try and have an environment where each player thinks that they can still get the best out of themselves in the place that they're at. So that's our challenge. Maybe get them a girlfriend up here as well, a Brisbane girl, and they never want to go home.
Doesn't hurt.
Bit of a dating service.
Yeah, possibly.
Well, thanks so much for your time today, Gary. It's been a really comprehensive chat, and I'm sure the fans will really appreciate that. I hope you have a bit of a rest over the bye, and all the best for the second half of the season with the boys.
Yeah, thanks, fellas. All the best. And, go Lions and stick with us, all you supporters, because, we're doing our best to actually turn things around, and, let's see what happens in the second half.